Are you feeling held back, like there are invisible forces keeping you from reaching your full potential? Maybe you've told yourself it's too late, or that you're just not that kind of person. These subtle beliefs are some of the most common mental traps we fall into, quietly limiting our lives without us even realizing it. But what if these limitations aren't real? What if they're just stories we've been telling ourselves? Stories that someone like Dale Carnegie, with his profound understanding of human nature, would urge us to challenge. In this video, we're going to explore these insidious mental barriers, uncovering how they take root and sabotage our dreams. Drawing inspiration from timeless principles of human potential, we'll look at how to recognize when you're trapped, and more importantly, how to break free. It's about realizing that the power to change, to pursue what truly matters, doesn't diminish with age or circumstance. It's a power that lies dormant within you, waiting to be unleashed. One of the most insidious beliefs that can paralyze a person is the idea that it's too late to pursue a dream, start a new project, or change course. This perception often sets in gradually, fueled by phrases such as "I'm too old" or "if it were meant to be, it would have happened by now." Over time, this thinking takes root, stifling ambition and transforming potential opportunities into regrets about what might have been. However, this belief is not based on objective reality, but on a limited perspective, often influenced by social norms or previous experiences. The enduring truth is that chronological age does not determine the potential for fulfillment. What really matters is the willingness to act in the present. History is replete with examples of individuals who undertook great things in the later stages of life, proving that vitality does not reside in youth, but in the will to keep going. Believing that one's time has expired is, in essence, refusing to plant the seeds of a different future. The possibility of flourishing is not tied to a specific season of life, but to the courage to cultivate with intention. As long as there is breath, there is fertile ground for new beginnings, and the time available, however limited it may seem, is enough for something extraordinary to germinate. The aging process, in its deepest sense, often begins in the mind, long before it manifests in the physical body. It is when the mind gives in to complacency, settles down, and closes itself off to the possibility of learning and experiencing new things that the body begins to follow that silent dictation. Rigidity of thought, resistance to exploring different paths, and the habit of repeating the same routines are clear indicators that inner youth, that spark of curiosity and vitality, is fading. Chronological age is merely a number. An individual's true vitality is determined by their mental willingness to continue growing and expanding. A mind that is constantly renewing itself, nourished by new dreams, actively seeking challenges even when external expectations suggest otherwise, is a mind that keeps the body alive, vibrant, and full of energy. Therefore, true youth is not a physical condition, but a mental attitude, a posture of openness and curiosity toward life. Physical aging is inevitable, but allowing the mind to age and stagnate is a choice. If the mind remains active, creative, and passionate about the journey of life, the body will reflect that energy with gratitude and strength. The difference between feeling genuinely comfortable and simply settling is subtle, but crucial for personal development. Many people confuse inner peace with mere resignation to their current situation. True comfort brings with it a sense of lightness, well-being, and an impulse toward continuous evolution. Conformity, on the other hand, is a paralyzing force that limits potential and keeps us trapped in a static existence. It is a silent trap in which one becomes accustomed to what one has, who one is, and the monotony of routine, and comes to label this as life, despite the persistent inner feeling that something fundamental is missing. It is essential to constantly challenge oneself, breaking the inertia of passivity to rekindle enthusiasm for living. The comfort zone may seem like a safe haven, but it is actually a beautifully decorated cage. One can forget that one is confined until suddenly one realizes that years have passed without any significant movement forward. Living fully requires action, courageous decisions that shake the soul, and the willingness to go beyond the predictable. It is not about seeking discomfort for its own sake, but about refusing to accept a lukewarm existence simply because it seems less risky. The real risk lies not in the failure of an attempt, but in the inaction of never having tried. The silent engine of desire. The invisible force of desire is what distinguishes those who merely exist from those who truly live and flourish. It is this silent but immensely powerful energy that drives the will to start over, to create something meaningful, and to leave a mark on the world. Cultivating genuine and ardent intentions is essential, because without a deep desire to drive us forward, action lacks consistency. The courage to face obstacles falters, and the persistence needed to keep going disappears. Desire is the soul that drives the soul, keeping the spark alive even when the body may not respond with the same agility as before. Even though the years have passed and the hair has turned grey, if the desire still burns within, the possibility for transformation remains intact. Desire does not manifest itself loudly or impose itself, but neither does it dissipate without first being heard. It remains latent, waiting to be awakened, waiting for one to say yes once again. And when that recognition and affirmation occur, age becomes irrelevant. Ideas are reborn with renewed vigor. Paths that once seemed impassable open up, and life regains its sparkle and purpose. Because where there is authentic desire, there is also a universe of possibilities waiting to be explored. The hidden roots of inherited beliefs. The danger inherent in the limiting beliefs we have inherited or absorbed from our environment is their ability to operate silently, like invisible roots that sustain patterns of behavior and thinking that no longer serve us. Often, we act in certain ways not because of a conscious and deliberate choice, but because we have been conditioned to believe that this is how things should be, accepting these ideas without question. Internalized phrases such as, "I'm not good at this," "I'm too old to learn anything new," or "I've already done my part in life," are examples of inherited thoughts that infiltrate our subconscious mind, sabotaging our potential in the present. The change in attitude, that inner transformation we long for, begins fundamentally with a change in perspective. This requires the courage to critically examine and actively question those ideas and beliefs that we have absorbed without deep reflection over the years. Limiting beliefs act as distorted filters that cloud our perception of reality, preventing us from seeing the full scope of what is truly possible for us. They drain our vital energy, erode our self-confidence, and confine our vast potential to a life that is significantly less than what we could experience. What is most insidious is that many of these beliefs are cleverly disguised as prudence, maturity, or common sense. However, a common sense that paralyzes and represses action is not sensible at all. It is simply fear in disguise, an imposter that keeps us in our perceived comfort zone but actually prevents us from growing. It is crucial to exercise constant vigilance over our own thoughts, identify the repetitive patterns that limit us, and cultivate the courage necessary to break away from what, although familiar and comfortable, no longer serves us in our evolution. True freedom lies not only in the ability to make new decisions and embark on new paths, but also, and perhaps more importantly, in the ability to consciously abandon old decisions and beliefs that have lost their relevance and purpose in our current life. Death before the end. There is a form of death that looms long before the last physical breath. It is a kind of silent decline that manifests itself in a loss of sparkle in the eyes, in a routine devoid of purpose, in days that repeat themselves mechanically without novelty or inspiration. This is a form of tacit surrender, often disguised under the cloak of maturity or acceptance of fate. Many people, upon reaching a certain age or after experiencing certain circumstances, adopt the belief that they have already lived what they had to live, that their cycle of contribution and experience has come to an end, and that all that remains is to passively watch time go by. However, this perspective is not synonymous with wisdom or serenity. It is, in essence, a form of capitulation to life. Living authentically is a continuous act of active participation in existence, maintaining a genuine and vibrant interest in what the future may still hold. When we abandon the intrinsic desire to learn new things, to be surprised by life's unexpected experiences, to try again despite past setbacks. That is when we begin to die internally. This death is not physical in nature, but emotional, spiritual, and mental. It is the point at which the heart ceases to hold expectations with enthusiasm, the mind ceases its creative activity, and the soul ceases to desire with passion. All of this happens almost imperceptibly, like a flame slowly extinguishing itself without a dramatic gust of wind or a perceptible sound. Truly living requires a full presence in the moment, a total surrender to the possibilities of the now, and a constant struggle against that insidious apathy that often disguises itself as a natural phase of life or mature acceptance. Because as long as there is a single spark of interest in what is still possible to experience and achieve, life, in its most vibrant sense, persists. True maturity does not manifest itself in passive acceptance of the perceived end, but in the unwavering will to continue dancing to the rhythm of life, even when the music seems to have faded, finding joy and purpose in every remaining step of the way. The trap of constant comparison. Continuously comparing ourselves to others is the mental equivalent of building an invisible prison within our own minds. It is a cell whose walls are built brick by brick, using the wrong measures and standards of other people's lives. This habit causes us to look outward, toward what others seem to have or have achieved, rather than inward to recognize our own worth and progress. By using someone else's life trajectory as the yardstick by which we measure our own worth, we inadvertently erase our uniqueness, belittle our own victories, and sow doubt about our unique potential. Trying to be someone else is, in essence, a tragic waste of the extraordinary person you already are. This is precisely what happens when we succumb to the comparison trap. We sacrifice our authenticity, which is, ironically, one of our greatest sources of strength and originality. Life is not like a straight-line race with an identical starting point and finish line for all participants. Rather, it is a journey filled with personal and winding paths, necessary detours that teach us valuable lessons, and opportunities that blossom only for those who understand the importance of waiting and cultivating in their own time and space. Furthermore, it is crucial to remember that what we perceive of others' lives is often just a carefully presented facade, a selective showcase that does not reveal the full complexity of their experiences and internal challenges. Comparing ourselves to this partial image, rather than to the complete reality of their lives, is inherently unfair and disloyal to ourselves. The only comparison that truly has merit and can be constructive is the one we make with the person we were yesterday. If we have managed to take a single step forward today, no matter how small that progress may seem, we are already surpassing our previous version and moving forward on our own unique path. The weight of not trying, the deepest and most persistent. Regret often does not arise from the actions we took that may not have turned out as we hoped. On the contrary, this most painful kind of regret springs from what we never dared to try, from the words that remained unsaid, from the paths we chose not to explore, and from the dreams that were shelved by the weight of fear, paralyzing doubt, or the perceived convenience of inaction. As the years pass, these small, silent renunciations accumulate, transforming into a heavy burden that dwells in the heart, whispering incessantly in moments of stillness the haunting question, what if I had tried? Action, even if imperfect, has the therapeutic power to alleviate anxiety, and similarly can dispel the power of regret. Regret over the untried only exerts control over us as long as we remain motionless, trapped in inaction. Many people go through life as if they are paying an invisible debt to the past, as if a missed opportunity yesterday irrevocably nullifies all the possibilities inherent in the present. But this perspective is fundamentally flawed. Each new day dawns with a fresh opportunity to break that cycle of regret and rewrite our narrative. The past, though immutable in itself, can be redeemed and resignified by the conscious and courageous actions we take in the present. And while we stubbornly look back with nostalgia or regret, the future, full of untapped potential, slips stealthily through the cracks of the present moment. The only truly effective antidote to regret born of Not trying is the deliberate choice to act, to take that first step, even if it is tentative, even if fear still walks beside us. Because ultimately, nothing hurts more deeply than the awareness that life could have been infinitely richer and fuller if only we had dared to try. The transformative power of decision. Decision, understood as a conscious act of will and commitment, represents the fundamental turning point in any story of personal transformation. Beyond the variables of time elapsed or current age, what truly catalyzes change is the unyielding force of a well-made decision. A decision to start over, to approach things differently, to allow oneself to evolve and grow. Without the action that follows a decision, time simply slips away without leaving a meaningful mark. However, with a determined and proactive attitude, any present moment has the potential to become a promising new beginning. It is common for people to feel trapped in a can't-do or not capable mindset, often due to perceptions of what they have already lost in the past or what they believe is unattainable in the future. The fundamental mistake lies in believing that time or external circumstances are the main impediments to the process of change. The immutable truth is that what truly transforms a situation, no matter how challenging, is the internal decision to believe in possibility, to choose to break free from the inertia of stagnation, and to move forward with determination. The right time to act is never in the distant future. The moment of power is always now. It doesn't matter if you are 30, 50, or 70 years old, life still has vast potential to be transformed and improved. But this transformation will not happen on its own. It will only materialize when you make a conscious and firm decision to act in the present. Therefore, beyond the time that has passed or what has been left behind, what truly defines the course of our lives is what we decide to do with the time we still have at our disposal. The power inherent in a decision can open doors we didn't even know existed, revealing unexplored paths and unexpected opportunities. And the moment one decides to act with resolve, destiny itself begins to rewrite itself before our very eyes, manifesting a future that previously existed only in the realm of imagination. The audacity of reinvention. The courage to reinvent oneself is perhaps the most compelling proof that life does not simply end with advancing age, but truly ends when we lose our innate ability to evolve and adapt. The process of reinvention does not involve losing the fundamental essence of who you are. Rather, it is an invitation to allow that essence to expand, transform, and flourish in ways you may never have considered before. Having the audacity to change, to let go of the anchors of the past and embrace the arrival of the new with openness, is crucial in this ongoing journey of growth. Reinventing yourself requires both detachment from the familiar and a deep faith in your own untapped potential. Often, the mere idea of change can be frightening, as it challenges the certainties and structures we have meticulously built over the years and have come to rely on. However, it is precisely this willingness to start over, to experiment with the unknown, and to explore new facets of oneself that brings about true and profound renewal. It is not about getting lost in the process of transformation, but about discovering oneself in new, deeper, and more authentic dimensions than one ever thought possible. The fear of change often stems from a fear of the unknown, but it is vital to understand that the act of changing does not erase who you were in the past. Rather, it clearly reveals who you have the unlimited potential to become in the future. By allowing yourself to reinvent, you open up vital space for a more powerful, more fulfilled, and more aligned version of yourself to emerge. Because when you give yourself permission to evolve and grow, life itself begins to expand in ways that once seemed completely unattainable and impossible. The self-deception of pessimism. The realism we occasionally use as a protective shield is, in essence, a subtle form of self-deception, cleverly disguised as maturity and prudence. When you find yourself trapped in overly pragmatic thinking that consistently whispers limiting phrases such as, "It's not worth the effort," "The best opportunities have already passed," "Time is no longer on your side," or "You're not good enough," it's important to recognize that you're not being truly realistic. Instead, you are actively hiding from the fundamental truth that there is still vast potential to explore and an immense amount of life to fully experience. Many people limit themselves not by objectively impossible barriers, but by those they subjectively believe to be insurmountable. Over time, this distorted and pessimistic view can come to dominate one's perspective, progressively weakening the intrinsic will to act, to try, and to persist. Pessimistic realism acts as an invisible prison, building mental fences around our most cherished dreams and severely restricting the scope of our unlimited potential. When one hears oneself declaring that it's too late to change course or that there's no room for new projects and aspirations, what one is actually doing is actively giving up on the unexplored possibilities that the future still offers. True realism, in contrast, consists of recognizing that as long as there is life and breath, there is always a viable space to start over, to amend past mistakes, and to build a different future. Therefore, the key lies in discerning that what we often label as realism may, at its core, simply be fear in disguise, preventing us from embracing the opportunities that await us. Breaking free from this limiting mindset is essential for personal rebirth, as life is not defined solely by what we have already done or experienced, but perhaps more importantly, by what still lies ahead and the courage we show in moving forward despite perceived challenges. The urgency that drives the now. Understanding and accepting the urgency inherent in living fully in the present moment is what truly marks the difference between a life marked by regret over missed opportunities and an existence rich in purpose and meaning. We often perceive time as an elusive entity that slips uncontrollably through our fingers, taking with it precious opportunities and moments. However, the very sense that time is limited can, paradoxically, serve as the crucial impetus we need to act with greater intensity, determination, and a clear sense of purpose. Rather than succumbing to passive resignation or complacent conformity, the only truly constructive response is decisive action in the present. Great achievements and meaningful accomplishments rarely depend on the abundance of time available, but rather on the effectiveness and intention with which we use the time we have right now. The limited time we perceive as remaining, far from being a reason to abandon our dreams and aspirations, should be embraced as a powerful reason to accelerate our efforts, to make things happen in the present, to take that crucial next step without delay. The urgency of living in the now is not about operating in a constant state of rush or uncontrolled anxiety, but rather a deep and serene understanding that life in its most authentic and fullest form is built moment by moment through the conscious attitudes and deliberate actions we take in the present. Every decision we make today, no matter how insignificant it may seem at the time, has the latent power to shape and create the future we wish to manifest. Instead of putting off our dreams and waiting indefinitely for the perfect moment or ideal circumstances, it is in the now, in this very moment, that the real power to act resides. Don't wait any longer. If there is a passion, an idea, or a purpose that beats strongly in your heart, don't let it fade away by putting it off for an uncertain tomorrow. Take action today and watch how that action can begin to transform your life in ways you may never have imagined. The wall of intellectual self-deception. Self-deception manifested through a pessimistic lens is one of the most formidable obstacles many people face on their path to self-realization. When you begin to perceive life exclusively through the distorted lens of a realism that only highlights obstacles, magnifies past failures, and relentlessly emphasizes perceived limitations, you are actually falling into a trap of self-deception. This type of lucidity, which is in essence a sophisticated form of surrender disguised as intellectual prudence, has the paralyzing effect of freezing our dreams and stunting our capacity for action. True realism does not imply resigning oneself to mediocrity or embracing conformity as an inevitable fate. On the contrary, authentic realism manifests itself in the ability to face life's inherent challenges with a mixture of unwavering courage, confidence in one's own abilities, and a persistent will to keep moving forward despite adversity. No matter what our current age or external circumstances, realism tinged with pessimism is simply a disguise, a mask that hides the true nature of giving up. It is that inner voice, often subtle but corrosive, that tells us that the effort is no longer worth it, that the brightest days of our life are behind us, and that there is no viable space for new endeavors or aspirations. This type of thinking is not only unrealistic, but deeply limiting. It prevents us from recognizing that by fundamentally changing the way we perceive and interpret the world around us, we have the intrinsic power to radically transform our experience of external reality. Therefore, it is absolutely crucial to break free from this constricting way of thinking that only serves to actively diminish our possibilities and reduce our potential. True realism lies in the firm and unshakable belief that there is always a new opportunity waiting to be discovered, a new chance to start over, and a new way to approach challenges. And most importantly, that all of this is fully within our reach if we dare to reach out and take it. Life in its most dynamic and hopeful essence can be conceived as a book still in the process of being written, with countless blank pages, eagerly waiting to be filled with new and exciting stories, achievements yet to be attained, and, most importantly, countless opportunities to start over. The past, with its inevitable mix of celebrated victories and lamented defeats, plays a crucial role as an invaluable source of learning and reflection. However, it is vital to understand that the past, however significant it may have been, should never be the only determining factor in the final outcome of our personal story. The future belongs to those who dare to believe passionately in the beauty and viability of their own dreams. Each new day that dawns presents a fresh and unprecedented opportunity to write a completely new chapter in the book of our lives, regardless of our age or the sum total of experiences we have already accumulated on our journey. All too often, people become anchored in the restrictive notion that the value and course of their lives are defined solely by what has already happened, as if the past were the only valid reference point and the only permissible influence in determining what is yet to come. However, the true secret to a vibrant and ever-evolving life lies in the profound understanding that what the future holds is not a pre-written, immutable destiny, but rather depends intrinsically on the conscious and proactive decisions we make. In the present moment, as long as we have life, as long as energy flows within us, there will always be ample fertile ground to rewrite our story, to change direction if necessary, and to create a narrative that is more aligned with our deepest desires and aspirations. It doesn't matter if we have traveled this path of life for 10, 20, or 70 years. With each new step we take consciously, we have the inherent ability to shape and write a new and exciting chapter. The past, with all its lessons and memories, does not have the power to define the end of our story. That end only truly comes when one decides, of their own free will, to stop writing. Therefore, no matter what your current situation is, where you are at this very moment, as long as you still have breath in your lungs and a spark of desire in your heart, there are still countless exciting chapters left to write in the unique book of your life. We have journeyed through the mental traps that often limit us, those ideas about time, identity, fear of change, and comparison that keep us small. But the most important thing we have discovered together is that none of these barriers are permanent. Age is just a number, the past is learning, and the power to rewrite our story lies within each of us, here and now. The decision to live fully, to embrace purpose, and to have the courage to be who we truly are is a possibility that is renewed with each sunrise. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The power to transform your life is right now. Now that you know these traps and the keys to overcoming them, the invitation is to put this knowledge into practice. Life awaits your action, your courage, and your decision. If this message resonated with you and you feel inspired to take the next step, don't let this energy dissipate. Like this video, subscribe to the channel to continue receiving content that will fuel your growth. And if you think someone else needs to hear this, share it. Your story is far from over. Dare to write the most exciting chapters that are yet to come.